What's up, guys? It's Cat, and in today's Battlecats video, I'm ranking the top 10 Ubers, including Fest exclusives. And back last year, I ranked Fest exclusives on whether they were overrated or underrated or, fairly rated best to worst. But now I'm going to have the top 5 Fests ranked, and I'm going to have the top 5 non-Fests ranked, as long as 2 honorable mentions. So let's get right into it. But before I do, if you enjoyed this video, find it helpful, learn anything at all, consider liking, subscribing, and turning notifications on, because it greatly improves and helps our channel grow. And without your support, I wouldn't be here. But let's get right into the list. And right here for my tier list, I have the honorable mentions section, as well as 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. And I'm going to be grouping up the best non-fest and the best fest in the same tier. Obviously, the fests are better, but let's get right into it. And I'm just going to start things off the bat. I think the best Uber in the game is Matama, the Oracle. And she is in amazing company in these fest stages. And, you can make the same argument about Kazui, D'Artagnan, Fono, Dono. You can make arguments about all those Ubers. But I really think that Matama tops him off because, first of all, she is great survivability, 15 knockbacks, and she has long range pierce. And on top of that, with her survivability being so good, her crowd control is arguably even better because she has a guaranteed slow, and that is insane. And paired with her good DPS, the fact that you could stack them in certain stages, and the validity of her first form as well, if you wanted to use it's good. But all around, she's an amazing crowd controller with good stats, great survivability, and she's a very viable Uber. And I know what you guys might be thinking, but this is a very stacked list, and honestly, these top 5, you can make a case of them being interchangeable. But I personally, as a Matama user, like her. So she's going to be, in my opinion, the first, the number one Uber in the game. And remember, you guys like that comment, disagree with it, whatever you guys might think, make sure to leave that down below in the comment section. I read every comment and I will respond to most of them. So we have Matama at 1, and joining her in that 1 tier is going to be Balrog. And I think Balrog is the best non-fest exclusive Uber because Balrog is an absolute unit offensively. He's spammable, and there are so many stages that he has carried so many people in. He is an offensive unit. He has very short recharge speed, inexpensive, disposable, and at the same time has some of the craziest stats in the game. When he has his damage boost and he's talented, he has the single highest DPS in the game. It is ballistic. And his biggest drawbacks are his lack of survivability at times, his short range, and he doesn't have a real niche, but more importantly, it's his it's just the fact that he's right in the combat, but he does everything a kamikaze unit should do and much more. His damage up is just a great thing too because he just gets that much more damage in per shot. We're talking 500,000-600,000 damage per hit, and the fact that he attacks every couple seconds is absolutely insane. So I don't think there's as much discussion about that in my opinion. I think the fests are going to be more controversial. But now I'm going to move into my 5s, who I think just barely scraped onto the list. Still great units, but, this is where we're going to have a little bit less debate because they're not number 1. And in my number 5 for fests, I have Dono. And Dono and Fono are pretty much tied. They're just good against different traits. So one's good against traitless and one's good against traded. And I thought that Fono, who is better against all traits except traitless, better generalist in that sense, topped Dono. And Dono is an excellent Uber, passes Gao in terms of effectiveness against traitless, and absolutely an amazing Uber. I mean, the Donos and Fonos, that's a great group to be in, whether you're rolling Uberfest or Epic Fest or Superfest or whichever event. I mean, you're going to have good company in all of them. So Dono will go up there. In the 5. And my other number 5 Uber, which is non-fest, is Yukimura. And Yukimura lacks some of the generalist qualities that I like to see in Ubers, but nonetheless, you know, is literally a second Bahamut Cat on the field, second awakened Bahamut Cat. Not as strong as the second awakened, not as strong as the original Bahamut Cat, but Yukimura, when you talent him, get him up to level 50, he is a force to be reckoned with, especially against black enemies because of the massive damage, obviously. And yeah, he's not as good as Awakened Bahamut Cat, but he's very great, honestly. Who doesn't want two of them in the same stage? And if you're further into the game where you have IDI, then you really have three Awakened Bahamut Cats. So that is just incomprehensible, in my opinion. That is insane to think about. The amount of rushing you could have the throwing bullet train, and yeah, you're set. But Yukimura, I only put in 5 because of the other Ubers. Most of them have either area attack, procs, crowd control, range. They top him in a lot of other aspects, survivability. But Yukimura, for what he does, is one of the best kamikaze units in the game, and I could not have left him out of this list. I think that'd be an injustice. So I will put him right in the 5s. Great Uber. I mean, I love him. I obviously have him true form, and I'm getting his talents. He's just a must upgrade. Oh, my mic almost fell. All right, now I'm gonna jump into 3, and for 3, for my fests, I have D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan. I've been butchering that name, but I've been practicing. I promise you guys. And D'Artagnan is just amazing. And once again, you can make the case that he's number 1 Uber. I would honestly have my ears open to that. I think he is insanely good, and I think he tops off his brother. And D'Artagnan, just once again, absolutely insane offense. We're talking in excess to 20,000 DPS at level 50 against traits, and that's just insane when you think about it. And you really can't lose with either D'Artagnan or D'Artagnan. You have whichever one you have. They're both insane, but I think that D'Artagnan has noticeably better stats than his brother, and thus I think that gives him the recognition because D'Artagnan has about 70% of the DPS of the brother, so that's a huge drop. And yeah, just absolutely insane. The just he's cheap, good recharge. You can get a ton out of him, so you just have to invest in him. That's no doubt. So he will be number 3 on my list, and joining him number 3 on the non-fest side is Luffy. And Luffy, at first I didn't know if I was going to put him on this list, but you have to consider his stats. You have to consider the potential for the critical hit, which does a ton of damage, and just all around. I mean, the guy's a unit. He's past Shishalan in the Nikaluga set in terms of viability, so that's something. And on top of that, just a really strong Uber. And obviously, the fests are a lot stronger than the non-fests, but I think Luffy fits comfortably on that top 5 list due to the sheer offensive power he has, the good amount of range, and the fact that you can put him in a lot of different lineups and he'll do well. Bring in a wave blocker, obviously, stuff like that, but he is great. Offense is amazing, and his numbers are insane. So, if you guys don't believe me, check him out yourselves. But I think Luffy is still under the radar, one of the best Ubers in the game. As much as people talk about him, I still think that Nick Luga gets a bad rep, but you have to look at him. He deserves a lot of recognition. So I'll put him in 3. Up there with his pal. And now I'm going to jump to 4. And for 4, I have normal Phono starting things off with Fest exclusives. And yeah, I mean, as I said, Phono and Dono are interchangeable in my opinion. They are very great Ubers. That there's very little debate in that. And yeah, I think that most of the stuff I said for Phono could be matched with Dono. So yeah, very similar there. Both amazing, and you can make the case that they're the best Ubers too if you like. I know that this video should be buzzing with comments, and I'm honestly excited to see it because I love hearing all you guys' perspectives, and it does increase my knowledge because I see something, hey, Spartan, I think this, I disagree with that, I agree with this. It makes me become a better YouTuber, but I also go back and research my rankings. I rewatch my videos, see what I did, and I gain knowledge. So that's very important. So never be afraid to comment anything, as long as it's constructive. Keep the comment section civil, but it's always fun. And my other number 4 I'm on right now is Chronos, and Chronos is an amazing crowd controller. She guaranteed multi-hit freeze, so 3 seconds of freezing is great. She attacks relatively quickly enough, long range. She has a piercing range of a lot. I think goes up to 700 in her true form. It's less than that before that, but yeah, insane. 6 or 700, but really good for her is also her, she has a few knockbacks, which is what you'd expect, and she really does pair well with just about any lineup. I mean, she could freeze all traits except traitless, and that is huge. She is a great crowd controller. I'm blessed to have rolled her really early into my Battlecat's career, and yeah, I think she gets onto the top 5 list pretty easily. And yeah, she sits at a comfy 4. You could argue that she's a top 10 Uber in the game, and I could agree with that. And number 2 I saved because I think number 2 is just as controversial as number 1, and I wanted you guys to know where I was going with the list before I said this. But number 2 is going to be Castley the Bane for the Fests. And Castley has to be a top 3 Uber on just about any list. Sorry, I just knocked over one of my tripods. But yeah, Castley is about on every single list a number 3 or higher because her surge is incredible, her stats are incredible, her range is good. I mean, she has everything working for her. She is an absolute unit, and yeah, it's insane. Just, even as I was saying with the surge too, it just gives her a lot more effectiveness over if she was just hitting attacks missing. The surge really does. If she misses her shot because of her blind spot, then she's in a lot better of a situation. So, yeah, number 2. Honestly, if you guys are saying she's number 1, can't get offended or upset at that. I totally hear you guys. But yeah, I'll put her at number 2. I still think Matama's better, but that's only because I think she is more viable with her procs, and she's more reliable in my opinion. But as I said, they're interchangeable practically, just subjectiveness. And also, my number 2 is going to be Kazujizo, and he's literally the only reason people roll Ultra Souls, and that's also why Ultra Souls has one of the best reputations as an event. Ultra Souls is regarded as a great event, and that's because Kazujizo is in it, and he is, whether you're a Battlecats fan or not, probably the most recognizable unit in the game. And he is on merchandise everywhere. He's I don't know, he's like the face of the Battlecats. No other Uber is as well known as him throughout the community and beyond. But not only that, he is exceptionally great against 2 different traits. He has multiple different usages between his forms, and he really does feel like a Festuber, in my opinion, when you see how he goes from little itty bitty Cassie Jizzo to Jizzo's moving tower. He becomes a completely different unit, and he has 2 different usages that are both really unique, really good, and unprecedented DPS against these traits and the stackability. So I think that's great, and people do sweep on him now because we have Pizza Cat, we have Ramen Cat, we have all these other Ubers, and now Anti-Black and Anti-Angel. There are traits that are being power creeped over time. But Kazujizo, he's great. And with Swords of Legend especially, those 2 traits get mixed in a lot of stages, so you might be using them a few times per subchapter. And to end the list off with a couple honorable mentions, a couple snubs for my Fest Uber, I have Mega Agus Garu, and yeah, he's great. I just, he could probably make a case for him to be in top 5 as well, but just given the top 5, I think he's the 6th best in the game in terms of Fest or in general because his stats are insane. He tanks, he deals a ton of DPS, His biggest downside, in my opinion, is 320 range, and that doesn't buy you a whole lot of space. So he's going to be eating a lot of shots, but the fact that he has at level 40 over half a million effective health against traits is really nice. And at the same time, he's an absolute powerhouse in terms of damage. 17,000 DPS at either level 30 or 40, but that is insane. The only real downside is eventually he's going to get destroyed by, much more difficult units in some situations. But all around, an amazing unit. I just couldn't fit him in the top 5. If I was doing top 10 Ubers in the game, he'd be on the list, but it's top 5 non-fest, top 5 exclusive. And for my non-fest snub, it's going to be, unfortunately, be Aphrodite. And Aphrodite is incredible, but she has a lot of usages she has a lot of usages against aliens, which is amazing. She is one of the best anti-alien Ubers in the game, no doubt. But now that we have the we have pretty much the Pokemon event. What's it called? Elemental Pixies. Elemental Pixies. Yep. So Elemental Pixies. We have all of this anti-alien power creep. We have Catman. We have all these other Ubers now that didn't exist when she came out, and I think that that's taken her usage down, in my opinion. She still has 600 standing range, and she is an invaluable backliner, sniper, whatever you might need. She could be a great generalist depending on the setting of the stage, and if you support her properly, then she could be stacked even. And yeah, Aphrodite is great. I think she is one of the best Almighties, but also Amaterasu did not make this list, and I think Amaterasu's just as good as Aphrodite, in my opinion, at different things, obviously. But Aphrodite, if you have her, she is cracked because of the 600 range, good DPS, good survivability, and yeah, I picked her at my number 6 spot for my top 10 non-fest Ubers. But I know this is going to be one of my most controversial videos. If you guys enjoyed the video, liked it, found it fascinating, agree, disagree, whatever it might be, please make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and turn notifications on so you never miss another upload. And if you guys I messed up here, agreed, whatever you guys might think, make sure to leave it down in the comment section. It's been good. Spartan Cat signing off, and I'll see you guys in my next ranking video or short. Peace.